Alright guys, welcome to your 10th video, and in this video what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys how to receive input from the user. Because right now, check out our game. It's not really a game, it's just a bunch of images, some text on the screen. In order to create a computer game, the user needs to be able to interact with it in some kind of way. So right now, if we just showed them a bunch of images, that would be more like a presentation or a PowerPoint. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be building a program that tracks the location of the mouse, and instead of saying are you ready to blast some ham, it's just going to display the mouse coordinates. Not a very fun game, but later on we can actually use this technique to do cool things like find out where the user is clicking and maybe blast an enemy there, or move the character there, or maybe move the camera, do a whole bunch of stuff. But for now, we just start with the basics. And the very first thing we have to do before we get to the good stuff is we need to import something for the mouse. So import org.lwjgl.input.mouse. Alright, looks pretty good. So now what this does is well, pretty much imports the functionality that we use to track the location of the mouse. So what I want to do is, how should I display this? Okay, so you know where it says, are you ready to blast some ham? Well, I don't want any of that anymore. I want a variable. So the reason that I want a variable, because if we have static text there, then it's never going to change. We need a variable because this text is going to change depending on where we're moving the mouse. So let's go ahead and create a variable above all of our functions. So public string, and we'll just go ahead and name this mouse. Now what we can do is we can actually give it default text. So as soon as you start the game, if you don't have the mouse on the window, we'll just have it say no input yet, because the mouse isn't currently over the window yet. So again, the text is going to be stored in the variable called mouse. So go ahead and copy that. Now whenever we draw that text, instead of having static text like this, what we can do is actually throw a variable into here. And again, currently, right now, if we go ahead and run this program, it's going to say no input yet, because that's what we set the variable equal to. Now, no matter where we move our mouse, it's always going to say no input yet because we didn't add any functionality to change that. But we are going to do that right now. So, like I said, the render method is just for drawing things on the screen, but the update method is for when things change. So what things are going to change? Well, the only thing that's going to change that we're concerned with is the coordinates of the mouse. So how do we get the coordinates of the mouse? Well, I'll show you guys. The first thing you need to do is you need to create a variable to store the X and Y location. Java already knows where your mouse is on the screen, and it's built into the system, and what we need to do is pretty much retrieve it from Java and store it in variables. So we'll put X position equal to mouse get X. And what this is going to do is, of course, get the X position, which is left and right or horizontal position of your mouse, and store it in a variable called X position. Now, since our game is, how big is our game? I forgot. Okay, 640 pixels wide. This is going to be anywhere in the range of 0 to 640. So now we do this exact same thing with Y. So the variable called YPOS is going to store the Y location, or the vertical location of the mouse, which is going to be anywhere from 0 to 360. Now if we go ahead and run our game, you can see that nothing happens. Why is that? Because even though we stored those values in variables, we didn't do anything with it. What we want to do is update this text whenever we move the mouse. So how do we do that? Well, we do that by changing the variable, because remember, it's the variable that gets drawn on the screen. So how do we update a variable? Oh, come on guys, you should know this. Just set the mouse equal to, and again, this is why it's so important to make it public and outside every other method, because once it's outside every method, then every other method can access it. So mouse equals, and I'll just go ahead and make a cool little prompt like mouse position we can put X and add a space plus, what was my variable? X POS plus Y POS piece of, I'm just kidding, it doesn't stand for that. And well, I think that's pretty much it. I think we're good to go. So hopefully, if everything went as planned, what should happen is this. By default, it's going to say no input yet, and it's going to draw it on the screen. We already know that that works because we tested it. However, in the update, what it's going to do is it's going to track the X location and Y location of my pointer, my cursor, and then it's going to update this variable so it no longer says no input yet. It now says, okay, mouse position X is on, I don't know, something like 100, and Y position is at 200. So let me go ahead, cross my fingers, and check it out. Okay, now it says mouse position 0, 0, and it's because I moved it, and check it out. And I want to point out one other thing. Now I can move my mouse all around, and as you can see, the X and the Y positions change. If I, I probably can't do it steady enough, but if I move left and right, only the X changes, and if I move up and down, only the Y changes. And if you notice, if you paid really close attention, you're going to notice a few things. First of all, I told you guys whenever you're positioning graphics that this was 0, 0, right? So why does it say 0, 357? Well, that's because in these gaming libraries, their coordinate system for tracking the mouse starts at the bottom left. So let me hold my cursor on the bottom left. That's why it says 0, 0 at the bottom left right there, if I can get it positioned properly. So just remember that. For these gaming libraries, or the examples that I demonstrated so far, for tracking the mouse, it starts the coordinate system in the bottom left. However, the graphics, with our graphics object that's built into Java, in order to position graphics, it starts in the top right. So anyways, that's how we get input from the mouse. And in the next tutorial, what I'm going to be doing is, well, maybe not the next tutorial, but in the upcoming tutorials, I'm going to be showing you guys how to utilize this tracking information to do things like move images around, move characters around, blow up crap. It's going to be awesome. But for now, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.